After the line work's been added to your work, as you can see, the line work on my tracing is not the line work that I've got on my work. The reason for that is that I'm better off to use my hand and do the lines freehand rather than to try and copy a line. That's the hardest thing. Now up on here I had that I'd actually done to it, and I disliked it immensely, so it's time to change it, which I have already, but I wanted to show you. This was just on there as talking with something and explaining about lines, and I put that on, so that's not staying there. But what I've done is actually worked with a magic eraser. They're in the supermarket aisle, in the laundry aisle, and you can get those for taking marks off the walls and things for children. Now this was a waterproof liner. That was the Uniball Mitsubishi pencil, which is a fine pencil, but it's waterproof. It actually says on there that it's waterproof, but I've actually removed it. Now to remove it, I've actually started out to rub on there. I can still see more of it, and just keep rubbing until that's gone. Now you can go through the paper. You can start to take paper off, and paper will come off when you actually see little bits of roly-poly coming off there. That was the water that I first put it in, and of course it was too dirty. This can be washed and put away, dried and put away, and you can use it until it sort of disintegrates. Okay, so choosing where your colours are going. I've chosen 2 colours. I've chosen Phthalo Blue and Jaune Brilliance, number 1 and number 2. So these are a whole bin colour. And I really do love them, but not as a straight colour, but just as a wash. I think they're really beautiful as a glow. They have a real glow to them. So I'm going to balance those out. I have a sable mop brush. The reason for that is it's either, you can use squirrel, of course, we don't get much sable anymore, but these were good brushes. And basically I'm using those to actually do the colour on there, and I'm taking into consideration the negative space. So if I have negative space here, this will come around and behind and out again. So there's a larger, a medium and a small area of negative space. So that's what I'm going to leave. I'm also going to try and show the way that the movement comes around through the paper. So the movement, and it's not going to stay in the one line all the way down and make one line that makes it. It's going to jump from line to line. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to use the I'm going to use Phthalo to start with. So I've just got Phthalo here, very, very soft, and I'll be able to change that as I go. If I want more on there, I can put more on. But I'm just going to start to put that on and go down that line and fill it as much as I can. I would turn my work quite a bit to get it even, to get the same colour everywhere, but I'm going to come over to close to that line, reload the brush. Now it always changes, so what I'm going to do is come back and re-wet it so that as I'm going, I'm getting an even colour. Just speckled on the other side of that line there. I could get that off with a tissue, and so quickness is the way to do that, to get something off that you don't want on there, and keep going. So that's coming around here. It's leaving a few streaks, but that's all right. Now I can get it even later by moving it round, but this is the start of the colour. That's going to come around to there, and then for that line back there, I'm going to turn the work. I always do, and I always will, because the point of my brush is the straight line. That's the straight line there, not on the other side of the brush. Now that went in there, so I'm going in there and doing just that little bit as well. Oops, went in again. Now I'm going to go past there and I'll fill it up later. I don't want to keep going and going and going. Okay, so that's still coming around, and it's wet enough for the colour to join and to blend in and not leave marks in it itself because of the quickness that I'm coming around there. Now that's the first lot. Now that's flat colour. a little bit darker down the end there. Don't mind that. If I didn't want that, I could move it round slightly and get it to run towards me. And so then it would just move that colour around slightly. Or I could leave it tilted and it would go down to the bottom and be darker at the bottom. Doesn't really matter in this, I'm just putting colour on. Okay, so the colour would follow through. So I'm going to jump. And I was going to move up to here. So that's where you'll start to see your line work, where you need to actually change some of your line work or do something with it to get it together. And so I'll go somewhere that I know that it's going to be okay. And I'll come down through here and back underneath and in through maybe in the bike, so that I'll have different sizes in the colours as well. So that's going to come around here in the phthalo again. Just pick up the same amount of phthalo really. It doesn't have to match. I'm not somebody that fusses about whether it's going to exactly match. Just get it on. So that'll come around, leave the bike. That'll leave that edge. Round to the riding boot. Turn it round and paint to the line. Now, one of the reasons that's joining up so well is because the amount of water that I've got on my brush. It's not allowed to do anything other than just go on there. So if I start to come over lines, then that's what I will repeat in the artwork, because when you're doing an artwork, you still have to have the elements and principles of design. You can't just do something and put colour on and expect it to turn out to be an artwork. It has to have those elements in it to make it a proper artwork. It comes around here. Now whether I come in, I won't come in at this stage, I'll decide, because I can still come in there later because the colour won't change that much, or I could do a different colour in there. Now the only reason that will muck up is if I've actually had drier patches and wetter patches, and then it makes a mess because it won't dry evenly if that's the case. So now I've got the phthalo coming through and I need the phthalo to keep moving. So whether I actually double that line up, whether I take it through here, that wouldn't be a bad option to take it through. There's no finished line there, so later on I can do a finished line if I put it there. So that's what I'm going to do at this stage. So before I actually do something that I don't like, I'll take my time with it and just take it a section at a time. So if that line was there, it would have to follow the movement of the other lines. It would have to go up that way. So there'll be a line there later. Pull that away. Get the point of the brush to do the work for you. And it's the size of the brush depicts how much I need to get in around small places, because a larger one of these would have been a lot harder to get round. Get close to this line. Don't let the brush dry out too much. Pick up more paint. Okay, so that's going in around. I've missed most of the bikes and that at this stage, but as I said, it's very easy to go through, and I'd rather take it slowly than to do something that later that I really don't like. And that's by 3 places. I've got 3 places of the turquoise now. It's got movement to the paint. It's actually still going around through the area. I haven't all of a sudden changed and gone somewhere wild. And so now you've got the turquoise coming through. It looks like this one follows through from that one if I got that little square little section there. Okay, make sure your edges are really nice, that you don't have too much white sort of showing through. Okay, so into the other colours. I just want to, I'm dying to have a go at that, but it's still damp. And I'll have to wait till it dries, otherwise it'll bleed when I put it in and it'll look worse. Okay, so where am I going next? I still think I fancy this section here. I probably should have done that while I was talking. And so then it'd be able to come back. I really can't find my pencil. Okay, this is a very thick one, I think. Where was I headed? I was headed up here to the dog. Not very good. It's not exactly the right pen. Okay, moving on. So if I'm coming around through here, it'll go round through here and up and out, but there's only a single line. So there's a double line here. There's not a double line here. I'm not going to cross lines over. So I'm coming around through here and out. I don't want that all coloured, I don't think, although I could. That would give me the this negative space. It won't be negative space if I don't paint through the rest but still have highlights through it. I'm going to pay for that pen that I just put on there. That's not good. But, okay, so I'm coming back round now through, probably come round through the bottom here. I've got a gap between these two, so I'll start with the next colour. And I've got John Brilliance number 1 and number 2. So I'm not quite sure. I did think I was going to use number 2, which was more of a goldy colour. But I've got it in there. I don't like that. I'm going to have to get a container, something else to get it in, and have a look at it then. If I put some in there and then have a look at the colour, it's different. Okay, so that's what I'm going to use down here. So I'll start from this end simply because that end's got a lot of information in it, whereas I can get most of the cover on here. I won't put it on very thick. I don't like it when it gets too thick. That just went onto the tire. So take it back and then put it back. And I'll drop water into this. Got stuff everywhere. Drop water into this and bring it down here. And then I'll get the colour that I want by just adding water to it to get that opaque look. Because it is an opaque paint. It's similar to the Naples colours. Naples yellow reddish. I think a little bit of it spat on there. Wasn't very nice of it, but I mean, I don't worry about a lot of that things that happen like that. Take it off the tape, that'll get the colour softened, a bit thick there. Clean it up off the tape, you don't want that running around. That'll come back and heal itself. Okay. Now I'm in trouble. Okay, that's going to be done again later. I've done 2 colours together, which I should have been less impatient and should have waited till that one dried before I did this one. So now I'll pay for that. So the idea for that is that I'll finish this off, I'll let it dry, and then come back to that and change that, because that's easy to change once it's dry. It's not easy to change when it's wet. So I'll just get that on. And then I'll come back to that. Okay, now that's the colour I want. It's just that very, very light colour. Still get it off the tape. That'll continually come off and lighten. And if I hold it that way, it'll sort of bring it this way instead of going more up into the turquoise. Okay, I'm just going to dry that. and then come back to it when it's dry and start again. I'm up for the repair job now, seeing as I let that flow up through there, just through impatience, but it's a good chance to show you how you can get out of that. And so what I'll do is go back to square one and start wetting it again. It all has to be the same wetness. That watercolour works that way. That water is the reason that watercolour changes and moves around. So in fact, for me to move this paint, it needs to be re-wet, and it needs to be re-wet evenly, and then I can start to move the paint around. So this is how I'm going to do it, so that I don't have to get it so much darker by just putting dark paint on it. Of course, you could blot it out by putting dark paint, but I don't want it to be dark. So I'm turning it around now to come down past the part that's got the problem, and I'll just rub in that section for a little while. That will make it go into that. The colour will change into that slightly, but not much. And so now I'm moving all the paint. And so as I move it round, the colour changes. And then I can start to work with just a little bit more colour to get it to match the other, without getting it too much in a different colour. So this is the colour I had originally. So I put the tissue up there and made a mess there. So that will where I'll start, and I'll leave that there. Bring it down here. It'll move around, just dotted. Down to here where I need to keep rubbing in that colour. Pick up a little bit more colour. Drop it in there. Now move the whole lot around. Oh, I don't know what's on the brush there, whether it was dry or not, but it's making a mark, so that means to me it may be dry, because dry paper leaves marks in paint. The only way you're going to get it smooth is if it's all the same wetness. Now you can see the paper's buckled there where I've wet it. So if I put it down, you see the shine. If I put it up, you don't see it. So I think I can still work in that just a fraction more, just to get that colour out there. So I'm just dropping colour in on it, and that really won't be that noticeable later. Okay, so the turquoise is coming through, and really it only looks like two places. That looks like one, that looks like two. And so now I'm coming back for a third place. If it come back through here, it could come underneath there, but that's still only adding to that. It's not doing anything other than just continuing that, which wouldn't hurt. So that's the phthalo again. And then I'm going to have to decide where to get that in another place. What have we done here? We've got bits going up here. That's not right. Just touch it quickly. When I've turned it, obviously, it's decided to go up there. And if it doesn't behave, then it gets a blue tire as well. Okay, so the blue coming down through here, if I come underneath there, that will make it look like it continues past that bike. Pick your places to come down through. I can go over whatever I like until I come to a stopping point. I'll come down through there. I'll leave her knuckle out. No, her knuckle's going. Down to that point there. Still no stop. All right, I will stop there. I'm coming over here. I will stop down further here and then close that off later. So now I've got that coming onto the bike. So now it's changing. What's going on there? Got the stuff everywhere. This brush must be flipping as it moves, because that's what will happen with that much water on the brush. It'll move around. and it's just flicking into places. But if you pick it up quick enough, it'll be gone. Okay, so I've still got the turquoise coming around, going out. I could possibly get a small third place. It'll have to have movement. Could be up in here, and that will stop at the bike. So I'll do that one as well. But it's a good idea to do some painting, then put your work up and just look at it at a distance for quite some time and make decisions that way, rather than to keep painting and go, well, I think I've just ruined my artwork. I don't believe that. I believe you can just about get any artwork back to being completed. I think I went over the line there. Again, having a bad time here. It's all right. Now you know that watercolour follows wetness. So if you do it with a dry tissue, it won't follow it. And I go right over it. I'd rather take more off and come back and put more on than to have it follow a bit of water. People try and take it off with water. That doesn't work. So now I've got a small area of turquoise. So I've really just worked the turquoise at this stage. With movement. Okay. And so now we're looking at the Jaune Brilliance, the colour to get that to move through the artwork. So it could come up through here. I don't mind a white line through the middle. I guess it has to come up through there. It can come back underneath here. I'll try that to start with, see if that looks like a stopping point that'll stop, clean the brush, drop some in, and then move that round. So where am I going? I'm going up to here. A lot of water on the brush. Maybe I should dry it out. Just touch it on a tissue and dry it out a little bit. Tell you what, it's going green. Take it off. The brush obviously has got the phthalo up in the middle part of the brush. I'll start again. That's better. That's just filling in that area through there. It's a little bit light. Just pick up a bit more of the colour. A bit more water. I can always thin it down while I'm working. And I'm going to take it right out of the corner. I'm not going to worry about the line. Am I? No, I'm going under the line. That goes in there to a great deal of stuff. So I'm just going to take it across there and up to this corner. Now this is the type of paint, being an opaque, that it can look pasty. So if it's too wet, too thick, it'll look very, very pasty, and I don't like it at all myself. Some people might, but I don't. Go right to the tyres. All right, so that looks like the ground area through there. I'm not going to do that one. That'll just go through and do the bottom section, and that's it. It should look like it moves up and goes up into maybe here. That'll go into that area there. She's still got blue boots. Okay, she might end up with blue shoes. That's the option that I've got there. If that happens and I don't like it, I can finish off her boot. It's a riding boot. Yeah. So that comes up just into there. It's a bit wobbly, but a bit strange. That's all right. So the blue could go up there later. So I'm going to do the Jaune Brilliance in here. so that's bringing it up higher. This brush is still spitting. This colour you don't have to be too fussy about while you're painting, because it's just going to move around. It's just a matter of whether it's thick or thin. That's the biggest problem with this one. Okay, so that's done. Hope this is not wet again. Oh dear. But if you've got a hairdryer handy, I'd dry it between colours. Just going to leave that one out. So you decide what you put in and what you... But there is a reason for it. That's the main thing. That's the main point I'm making. There's a reason for the colours. It's not just lines put on and let fly. It's actually got a reasoning that there's 3 lots of blue. There'll be 3 lots of the Jaune Brilliance. I've just got to decide where. Okay, so I still am trying to get something up here, and I know it can start in behind there, or it can come up from here, but that's a bit of a stop. If I put some in there, that'll actually make it move on. That'll make it move in behind here. And it was blue and then changed to that colour. That doesn't matter. Just about where do I get the colours. Okay, so then that can continue up as long as, and I'll have a look at a line through there. I don't want to cross the line. That's the thing that really irritates me, is where it's crossed. So I'm going to have to go on the outside of it. And so I'll go out the outside, out, around and out. And so then I've got another line coming out through there. Don't particularly like it going to a point at the end there. I might take that back later and take that bit, and I'll show you this other bit while we're here. That this one here, it's got to be on my wrist, so my wrist goes this way. And then it can come back out if it needs to. Could come back out from her helmet. Really do dislike that line. That's going to go later. You can see a little bit of a white line through there. I can come back and get that as well. That's one of the things I do in my work, is that I don't leave stuff that I'm not happy with. I always change it. All right, I'll let that dry, and I'm going to take that back off in the meantime. Okay, the phthalo is now going to come into this section. I've taken that line back off. Didn't like it at all. Taken it off and done a new line. And this is phthalo now. That's going to come through here and complete this section. So it looks like it comes through the artwork. It could come over here. Looks like water. They are going round the dam. That actually went over the line. Touch it. Get it off. It's a little bit dark. I'll come back to that and get it lighter. That'll come in behind there. Dry the brush. Take it back. Get it back into the lines. I'm having a merry old time getting out of the lines. Get it lighter. Back in. I haven't finished that. Get it right to the edges. Let's come out the edge there. So I've got a choice. I either wash it back now or see if it'll come back. No, it didn't come back. Now, if I wet it, it's going to follow me. So the idea is you let it dry and then take it off, because then it won't follow you. It comes up through here. A little bit more colour. Drop it in for more colour. Just drawn this line round to there. Turn it round to get up that line again. A little bit dark, but that's all right. That's going to finish off there. So the girls are going around the dam. And so that's happening there. And then we've got the next section will be coming in through here. Still little bits of that missing. Make sure that's neat. Coming in through here, I've got the blue coming through 1, 2, 3 places. 1, 2. I need an extra place for this. 1, 2. It still looks like that's 1, 2, and now this could be a larger area. And so what I'm going to do is dry the blue that I've just put on, but before I do that, I'm just going to give the number on hers the turquoise, because she's the focal point, and this will make sure that it looks like the focal point, and she does because she's larger. She's got the largest area of the jaune brilliance on there as well. That will be her number. Okay, so then this will be in the June Brilliance from here. It'll make it look like it goes through. I don't think I want it in there, but I can decide on that later because that's my white line. It'll come from there and up through here, and so that should leave 1, 2, 3 parts of the negative space. This is negative space, but because it's in this area, it encases that area, so it does look like it's actually in the design. It's not, when you look at the 2/3 vacant, 1/3 vacant, my phone's talking to me at the same time. So I'm just going to dry that and then I'll come back. I've just cut that section off so that I've continued that white through, and then I'll come up through here with the white and back around, and now this will be in the June Brilliance. That will then get the colour coming through. That'll come round through here. It's better off, and I'll get some water off the brush to start with. Can come over that, too hard to miss it. I can put it back on later. Get some water off the brush to start with. Drag that away. Thin it out. Now I can get up into that little intersection there by pushing the paint up. Anywhere that I go over that line, I can come back and make it darker later, or add more water to it now, and so that it doesn't get really pasty. Still in the camera. Just add water to make it move further. Close it up later. So anything that you don't close up, you can do it later. I will close that up. I'll close it up about there. Just went over the line. And what's going on? Really careless today. Point of your brush is the straight line. I'll get that mark out of it later. Bring that down. Now it's coming out lighter, which I don't know whether I like it or not yet. I'll just move that other around for a little bit. Finish off around there to there, and then I can smooth it out, see what I've got. Can't see that. Just finished off in the corner there. It does go a bit lighter, but I don't mind that. Alright, so now it's got the 1, 2, that still looks like 2. Okay, so I've got a large. That looks a little bit smaller, and I have to work out which area is the longest there or the biggest. I think that is, when you consider that, going through there. And I probably need, oh, that's a tiny little area there. Possibly could do that one there now, even though I didn't want to. I think I will. I'll go into there and finish that one, just in here. That'll get me another area, mainly focused around the focal point. And the hand wants to be painted too, obviously. Now that's darker because it's got more paint on, so I'll just lighten it. Okay. Alright, so I hope you've enjoyed that. It's got a lot of elements in it. Still working with those ideas that you're working in threes. There's 3 in the darker line work. There's 3 in the lighter line work. The dog's in it. And so therefore it should balance out to be a relevant artwork. There's a couple of lines that I need to redo. And if the line's looking shady, like that line's not looking so good, I could change that to being a thicker line by just using the Sharpie that I've got now. Okay, thank you.